What has been your main focus in real estate? Has it been for sale by owners? And obviously you have a really good sphere. From what I understand, your kind of bread and butter and your go-to is for sale by owners because there's a lot of them there. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is James Michener with Masters in Real Estate and Financially Free Real Estate Agent. I got Scott from Scottsdale, Scott Marlow. He's one of my good buddies that we've known each other for 5-6 years now. We went to some seminars, coaching seminars, and he is the FSBO king down in Phoenix. So when you have 75,000 agents that you're competing with, a lot of those guys are calling for sale by owners. I actually watched you do that for a couple hours one day, and that was really cool to see you do that. So you just have a really good approach, man. I really like what you do. I think it's very authentic. I think you bring a lot of value when watching you and listening to you. It's not pushy, and your conversion rate is really, really good. So how long have you been in real estate?
21 years.
Dude, 21 years. That's awesome. What has been your main focus in real estate? Has it been for sale by owners? And obviously you have a really good sphere. From what I understand, your kind of bread and butter and your go-to is for sale by owners because there's a lot of them there. Referrals are good, but they're kind of few and far between. Even if you've been in real estate for 21 years, you're not going to get a referral every single day or even every couple of days, you know?
What I realized when I was brand new in real estate, I came from the IT industry.
Okay.
I like to hide behind my computer and only send emails and never get on the phone with anybody.
Yeah.
And so I got into real estate and I realized, oh crap, this is a sales job.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky. My first week in the business, I sold a house through a classified ad. That tells you how old I am and how long I've been in the business. So I sold a house through a classified ad. Then the next week, one of my best friends bought a house. And so my first 2 weeks of being licensed, I remember I was in my training class.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, this will be easy, but then a month went by and nothing happened. And what I realized was when you get licensed, they teach you how to get your license or how to do a contract and you have your license, but they don't teach you really how to make money in real estate.
No.
So luckily my broker at the time was coached by Mike Ferry. And in the training class, he handed us a photocopied thing of the Mike Ferry script. It was grainy. You could barely read it. It had been copied like 100 times. And I thought, oh, I guess I'm just going to have to call these for sale by owners and read this script.
Yeah.
And I did it with no training or no practice. And I really struggled because I was mumbling. I wasn't used to it. I didn't know objection handling. I didn't have the right mindset for it. I thought they were going to be mean and hang up on me.
Yeah.
And they were. And so, I ended up joining coaching, role playing them every day for either 30 minutes or an hour every day. I'd have a role play partner. And I said, you know what, if I want to master this and not have to go back to work at my IT job, I'm going to become the ninja master at this.
Totally.
And so that's what I did. Started role playing and I got my skills up really, really high. Role played with all these different people from all over the United States. And what's really cool is you hear different objection handlers from different people. And by then you're like, you can't wait for someone to give you an objection.
Yeah.
And once you get like that, your mindset starts to get up. And that's when I really started to get traction.
I think it's really, really great that for one, you did role play. For two, you wrote down those objections and what you're coming up against. Because if you call for sale by owners every single week and you're doing it every day with the new ones, I mean, where you're at, you're going to get that because your population's so big and you could drive, an hour and a half and you're in Mesa. And then to get to the other side, you're over in Glendale, right? So that's about an hour and a half. So you have a big, broad market right there. So you're going to have a ton of for sale by owners. When you're making those calls, you're going to come up against the same exact objections every single time. There'll be some different ones, but very, very rarely are you going to. So you master those objections, then you're gonna be able to swing it. So question for you, how often would you call a for sale by owner on the first time and be able to get them to list with you that day or that week on the very first time?
Now, I mean, I could set a FSBO appointment like one out of every 2 or 3 calls. But it took years to get to that. I think when I started, it was probably a little closer, maybe 1 out of 10, 1 out of every 15.
Hmm.
But you start to get a little bit better. You start to work with your mindset a lot
Yeah.
about what's going to happen on the call and who you're going to be dealing with. I'd say that was one of the main things
Yep.
is the mindset about, I grew up, my dad didn't like salespeople calling or knocking on our door when I was a kid. And so my mindset about telemarketers or salespeople was bad, right? And I
Yeah.
kind of had this guilt, like, oh no, I'm a salesperson now. I'm one of those cold
Yeah.
callers. But I've ended up changing my mindset a ton to where I'm like, you know what, these people, they need my help.
Yep. They
And
do.
how lucky am I to be in an industry where I had a couple of sales jobs before that I tried when the market tanked in '09. I took a sales job and I'd have to call and I'd have to get through to the like the director of HR, the vice president of HR, the vice president of IT to sell what I was selling. And you end up with their admin assistant and you rarely even get to talk to them.
Yep.
And so now I'm looking at FSBOs. I'm like, how lucky are we? There's people that literally go on a website, put their cell phone number right there,
Yeah.
and they have a need for the service that I offer. They're
Yep.
selling a house and I sell houses.
Yep.
So once your mindset is that, your mindset is, oh wow, I help people sell houses. I can literally log on to websites for free, and then people will have their cell phone numbers and pictures of the house and a description of the house.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, this is a way better way to approach it than, oh no, I'm a salesperson. They're like, oh, it's so cool. I help people, and here's the exact people that need my help.
Dude, I love that. So good, a few good points that you made is like the data's free, right? Because it's all on Craigslist, Zillow, Facebook, other websites. And then if you wanted to, you could build out a CRM or just, have a Word doc or, an Excel spreadsheet on who you need to follow up with. But all that's free. All you need to do is have your cell phone and then you can make those calls and make those follow-up calls. That's how I started. I just started calling for sell by owners.
People today think, oh, I need a dialer and I need a
Yeah.
data service and I need all this stuff. And yeah, once you get to a certain level, that can help. I think the dialer is probably better with expires than for sale by owners, but
I agree 100%.
all you need is a phone,
Yep.
a phone in your finger, and
I
that's
agree
your
100%.
dialer.
That's how I did it because I was just calling off Craigslist and Zillow. And then I would write down everybody that I needed to call. I'd use my Google Calendar and say, hey, I need to call this person. And as my careers progressed, I learned how to do that. So like I have like my coaching students, I give them in my team, I give them the for sale by owner game plan, right? So when to follow up with them, what to say, what are the objections that you're going to get, how to answer those questions and whatnot. So I feel like there's a really big misconception as well when it comes to like cold calling, that if you don't get them on the first call that you suck or whatnot, which is not true. For sale by owners, and one of my mentors told me this, they're like fruit on a tree, right? You're not going to pick them until they're ripe enough, right? Until they've had enough bad experiences, until they've gotten so many calls from real estate agents or people looking to rent or people looking to do lease to own or owner carry, right? They're not generally dealing with the general public that's already pre-qualified and actually ready to buy, right? When you work with a real estate agent, people go to a real estate agent, are looking to buy off of MLS and they're real buyers at that point in time. So that's great. And I think everybody should start with for sale by owners if they want to build their business, right? Because it's free and it's pretty quick too.
It's free. And they pick up the phone more often than expireds too. And the phone number's accurate. So I'm not going to tell you not to call expireds, but the reason I like for sale by owners is if you do subscribe to an expired data service, they're going to give you 3, 4, 5 numbers for the same house.
Yeah.
And you're lucky if one of them's right. And so with for sale by owners, they literally have their cell phone number in their ad.
Exactly.
You can call them. And then if they don't answer, lately I've started texting a little bit more texting,
nice.
not just text, but I'll shoot a quick video, like a selfie video, a personal introduction video, especially if I've talked to them and I've had a good conversation, but they're not ready to set a listing appointment. That's another thing I've brought in here.
Yeah. I think
you can't do that to, if you've got somebody's office number or something, you can't text to it.
No.
And it's 2022, like almost 2023. Most people would rather get a text today than a call.
For sure.
Now, I would rather reach them on the phone because you can't handle objections. You can't really hear the sound of their voice. And what I really want to do when I call them is find out what their motivation is and then match up their motivation with my service and make my service the bridge to get them to whatever motivates them. And it's
Totally.
hard to do that in a text message. I'm basically using the text message to get an appointment with them or get them on the phone so we can dig a little deeper. But I
Yeah,
don't ever try to like handle objections by text message or anything like that, because it's a losing battle.
I agree 100%. Yep. I think the other thing that with for sale by owners is they've already raised their hand, right? Like they want to
Mhm.
sell. So if you have somebody that raised their hand, it's better than just doing neighborhood calling or cold calling just in general, because they've already raised their hand and they're probably one of the least called sources because they can be pretty mean and they can be pretty brutal, right? Which is a
They can.
positive and a
Everybody
negative,
can,
right?
though. I can. If you call me at the wrong time, I can be mean
Yeah,
on the
for
phone
sure.
too, right?
Yep.
So
And but what that does is because they're maybe not as delightful to call, right?
yeah,
There's less people doing it. And as soon as somebody's mean to an agent, they're generally going to drop off and be like, I'm not dealing with that person anymore. But if you continue to follow up with that person as a for sale by owner, for one, you're going to build more rapport. So you're going to build more trust. And when they're ready to list, they're most likely going to think of you first before going with somebody else. I think the
for
other
sure.
thing that's really important is always try to set up a preview appointment with the for sale by owner as soon as possible, because if you can get in front of them, they can get to like you. You have a really, really good likelihood of them hiring you,
I,
even on that first initial meeting.
I agree with doing a preview appointment, but the one thing I would say is you never want to act like you have a buyer for their
No,
listing,
no,
because you're basically putting it in their head. Oh, I don't even need to list it. I have 20 or 30 agents that say, oh, they're going to bring me a buyer. And in their mind, they think they have this miniature listing
yeah,
on their own. And they're like, why would I'll just keep telling I'll tell 3 or 4 agents a day or a week or whatever to bring me a buyer. And then
hmm,
I have every week, I'm going to have 5 more agents looking for a buyer for me, when it's not true. The other agents that are doing that, 99% of them are lying. And
yeah,
it's just putting that it's reinforcing that thought in their head of, why do I need a listing? See, I have all these realtors working for me and I don't have
yes,
I don't
exactly.
have any attachment. So
Yep. And I think that's what one of our coaches said too, is don't do that. Like don't fake that you actually have a buyer, because it's not fair to them, it's
I,
not fair to you, and then you're a liar. Like you're just going to not build that relationship. People want authenticity and somebody that's genuine and going to tell them the truth about this
I
stuff, you
had
know.
an agent just tell me the other day that he knows someone in his market that will bring one of his buddies in to act like the buyer
Oh,
for a listing with potential sellers. And
yeah.
he was on a listing appointment and they said they're going to list with that agent because they brought a buyer. He literally brings up his Facebook page and says, oh, is this the buyer here? This is like his best friend, or brings him to all his buyer
No way.
and busted him right then and there.
Wow, dude, that's just crazy. Yeah,
But
and you don't get anywhere with that, and you don't live a really good life by lying to people. Like
no, and
we're all human
they
beings.
can
Just because they're
tell.
selling their house and they're for sale by owner doesn't mean that they're human being. Usually, they had a bad experience or they want to save money on commissions. So knowing your stats and whatnot, which from what I've read, real estate agents could get anywhere from 8 to 13% more than a for sale by owner, and that's through our MLS system, because you can ask for more money on
Yeah,
the
just the
MLS versus
exposure.
retail. Yeah,
Yep.
listing exposure. You're going to be negotiating the contract. You're going to be negotiating the inspection, appraisal, all of that stuff, which is going to lead to more money for that seller. So if they're paying 5-6%, then they're already 2% ahead statistically, and anybody can look this up. So you're essentially not saving money by doing that.
Right.
Yeah. And with the market going down 2 to 5%, the longer that you're on average per month, the longer that you're for sale by owner, the less you're going to make on the house. So
Pricing is so huge right now, and I'm seeing
yeah,
it in the Phoenix market a ton. It's you can't even look at the closed comps really, because
nope,
they're like 2 or 3 months old, and the
yep,
last 2 or 3 months rates are like a point and a half higher,
yep. It's
and that
crazy.
just kills purchasing power.
Yep. So if you were to tell somebody how to get for sale by owners, you already know the websites and whatnot, and they're either already a real estate agent wanting to get to talk to for sale by owners, or they're a newer agent. How often would you tell that person a prospect? What's your system like? And we'll go into a little bit of
Uh,
role play here in a little bit as well.
I'm fortunate. We live in the Phoenix area. There used to be like 10 new for sale by owners that would come up every day.
Uh-huh.
Now it's probably closer to like 2 or 3 because the
Oh, wow.
market's kind of slowed down. So I don't get as many as we used to. But what
Yeah.
I would do is I check it morning, afternoon, and evening, and I'd always try to be the first one to contact them.
Okay.
Or one of the first ones to contact them. So just check those sites, you know what they are. The one with the Z on it is the biggest one here.
Yeah.
And I'm checking Zillow for sale by owners a couple times a day and just hitting refresh on the page. And when a new one pops up, I call it.
Cool. Nice.
I kind of just go from memory from there because I want to get them on the first day. And yeah, eventually you should get them into a CRM and everything. But I kind of get cocky and I'm like, well, if I have the CRM, it's almost like a backup plan. It's almost like they're going to list with me the first time I talk to them. So I'm not going to put them in a CRM. It's kind of my mindset, but it's probably smarter to put them in a CRM and follow up. A lot of them aren't going to list for 30 days. That's one of the biggest objections I get, especially when I call them on the first day or two that they've listed it.
Yeah.
By far, the biggest objection I get is we're not going to list it. We're going to give it a few weeks. We're going to give it 30 days before we list it with an agent. We're just going to see what happens.
And how
That
do
is
you handle
the
that
biggest
objection?
I say, awesome. That sounds great. So what if we could do this? What if we could both work at the same time? I could actually get your home listed here when we meet tomorrow. So, and by then I already know I always want to know where, why, and when they're moving. So once I know where, why, and when, I'm closing for the appointment. So we go something like this. Let's do this. What if we could work at the same time? So that while you're trying to sell it on your own for the next 30 days, I'm actually going after it with a professional full service listing so that we can get you to Chicago by the first of the year so that you can be with your granddaughter.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the most important thing, is to get you to Chicago by January 1st when your granddaughter's born? Wouldn't it be better if we both were working at the same time to do that?
Well, Scott, what do you mean by we both are working?
You know, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. What if I could write into our listing agreement that while you have it listed with me, you could continue marketing it for sale by owner at the same time while I have it listed. If you find your own buyer that's not represented by a realtor, we'll rip up my listing agreement. You'll owe nothing. But meanwhile, I'll proceed with full service photography, full service listing agreement, and I'll bring you an offer that'll actually net you more money, even more than you can selling it your own, even after you pay my commission.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I'll do that for sure, Scott. So if somebody was to tell me that, another real estate agent, I would say, what do I have to lose? You know, say, yeah.
And you want to come off as really, you're in it for them. You ask like you care what their motivation is, and then they'll tell you why, where, why, and when they're moving. And once you know that, you just say, if I can get you to there so that you can do what you want to do by the date you want to do it and put more money in your pocket, is that something you'd be open to?
Yeah.
And most of them are like, what, why wouldn't I? They're in doubt that that's even a possibility.
Totally. When I do wholesale deals or stuff that comes off my website for investing, I always talk to them and I say, well, why don't we do this? We'll work with you on the wholesale side, but also my real estate team will help you with the MLS. That way you're getting the investors and you're getting the retail buyers at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's very, very similar. You know, what are some of the negatives that come up with doing that type of approach?
I've taken over 250 listings with that. I literally put the verbiage into the listing agreement. There's blank lines at the end of probably at the end of most states' listing agreements. And in those blank lines, I have some legalese that I put in there. And so it's still a 6-month listing at whatever commission you're getting. So they're signing that, but it just has that verbiage that if they find their own buyer that's not represented by a realtor, they have the opportunity to cancel with me and owe nothing, or I'll do the transaction for a couple $100. I'll hire my transaction coordinator that will do all the paperwork. But out of the 250 people that have signed that listing agreement, guess how many for sale by owners have actually sold it on their own?
Yeah, like 5?
Zero.
Really?
0 out of 250 have done it on their own.
Dang, dude, that's crazy.
They think they're going to do it, and they will maybe do one open house or whatnot, but no one has ever sold it on their own after they signed it with me. Yeah,
I think that's great. I've used that before too for sell by owners, and you have to use like a different listing, right? Or so
I'm using the same. In Arizona, it's the ER, like whatever it is, 6-page listing agreement, like the same one. It's the same listing agreement, and they're signing a 6-month listing for 6%, hopefully, whatever, $1 million per, whatever you can get. But in those blank lines is where you write the legalese to where they can get out of it.
I think that's great. What about commission? A lot of for sale by owners, they want to save commission. So that's probably
Yeah.
one of their top objections. Are you willing to take less when you list a for sale by owner?
Honestly, yes. What I've learned is if you walk out the door without that list, I'm old school. I bring the papers and a pen with me.
Same here.
I don't trust Wi-Fi. I don't trust the battery power in a laptop or an iPad or whatever. I'm bringing paper and pen so that I can walk out with that signed. And what I've found is if you walk out the door without anything signed, your odds of getting it tank tremendously. So I would rather walk out of there with I mean, I know we're not supposed to talk about commissions, but I have a pre-written amount that I want.
Yeah.
It's a number between 5 and 7% on there.
Yeah.
And so that's what's written into the contract. But if scratching out that number 6 and changing it to a 5 will make them sign it before I leave, then I will do that. I'd much rather get 2% or 2.5% than nothing when I walk out the door without it signed.
Yeah, I took one for 4% earlier in the year, and some of my team was like, "Oh, you did that for 4%?" I'm like, "Yeah, they wanted to price it well. It was really, they were nice people, and the house presented well. They have to move, so it just seemed to be the right thing." I got 3 referrals off of that, and I never had to do 4% again. But I took that 4% because I'm all about volume, right? And that was a $500,000 house. So I made 10 grand on commission after, taxes and everything else, probably came out to like 6 or something like that. But to make 6 grand in a matter of a couple of weeks, like that's hard to do. So I think agents get too tied up in like, oh, if they don't give me 6, I'm not going to do it. Like you have to understand, like those people will refer you if you do the right thing. And a lot of times if you say, hey, I'm doing this for you for 4%, please just don't advertise that. Then, you can generally get more commission with the referrals that are sent to you.
One of my mentors said something very similar. He was like, Scott, if you had to pay $100 to get a listing, I could tell you that it's probably worth it because there's so many other ways that you can get a business out of having a listing. You'll get sign calls. You'll get the neighbors in the area. The person who you signed with is moving somewhere else. You can get referrals. He has a list of like 18 ways that you can get business from just taking one listing.
Yeah.
So once my first coach was like, take it for 6% or say no and leave and everything. And I did that for a long time. But then after I kind of got my eyes open, I'm like, well, yeah. And prices have raised so much in the 20 years that I've been an agent. It's like, if 2% is still 10 grand, like that's not terrible.
Dude, it's silly.
$500,000 house. Yeah.
It's silly not to do it, man, in my opinion. I think that you just take it. And I mean, there's always a threshold, right? Like go to whatever you feel comfortable with. Make sure you're offering the buyer side good amount to bring the buyer.
Yeah. And that's something else that's come up recently is, I know we're not supposed to talk about commissions, but my market kind of went down in buyer's agent commissions over the last 2 years when the market's been so good. And now the market's not as good. And a lot of them are sticking with that lower buyer's agent commission. And I'm putting all mine back to where I used to, back to that higher number. And I'm getting way better traffic than them. And whatever it is, it's 0.5%, it's 0.75%, but agents care. And you'll see, I'm seeing the difference in the showings by offering what I consider to be the old commission, the old.
Yep. And I feel like that's totally cool. And that's a great idea. I think your opening script of, where they're moving, when and why, is huge.
So I use the same intro that Mike Ferry taught me and a bunch of others do. But in 2022, if you ask the 14 questions that are on most scripts, you're not going to get through with the call. You're lucky they even picked up your call. So I try to get in and out with 3 questions asked, which is the where, why, and when. So I'll start off, I'll say, hey, this is Scott. But first I want to confirm that I'm talking to the owner of the house. So hi, I'm calling about the home for sale on Pine Street. Is this the owner?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
why don't we go do a role play real quick? Let's do a role play so people know how these calls go.
Cool.
So, and I'll be nice. I'll throw out some objections, not be crazy. So I'll be this.
Okay, so ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, I was calling about the home for sale on Pine Street. Is this the owner?
Yeah, this is him.
Hey, James. My name's Scott. I'm a local real estate agent in the area. I'm working with a lot of buyers and sellers, and I was just wondering, how can I help you?
We would love if you want to bring a buyer. We'll pay you the commission if you bring us a buyer.
Oh, cool. Cool. So you're willing to pay a buyer's agent commission if an agent brings you a buyer.
Yep.
That's cool. Wow. Okay. Well, tell me, if you sold this home, where would you go next?
We're going to Georgia.
Georgia. Cool. Wow. What's
Yep.
taking you to Georgia?
We got a job transfer. My daughter lives out there and our grandkids. So we wanted to be close to them. So we looked up jobs and found one that we need to get to. So
good for you. Good. So you
yep.
got a new job in Georgia. You're gonna be closer to the family. That's awesome, man. So
yeah.
how soon would you like to be in Georgia?
We're hoping by February 1st, honestly. That's
February
what we kind of
1st?
need to do. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, James, if I could actually help you get this home sold and get you to Georgia so you could be closer to your granddaughter and do all that by February 1st and put more money in your pocket at the same time, even after you pay the commission, is that something you'd be open to?
Yeah, I mean, we are, but we just put it on the market just a couple days ago, and we want to give it, 30 to 45 days, see what we can do.
I can totally understand that. And James, what if there's a way where we could actually both work together at the same time, where you could sell it for sale by owner while I had it listed, and we could both work at the same time, so that when the right offer comes in for you to get you closer to Georgia, to get you closer to your granddaughter, and get you there by February 1st, or who knows? I mean, if we could get you there by January 1st, would that work for you?
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
But what do you mean?
That,
we would both be selling it at the same time?
yeah, that's one of the things that I love to talk to you about when we meet. It'll only take about 15 minutes. I've got some time either today at 5 p.m. or would tomorrow at noon work better for you?
Tomorrow at noon would be pretty good. So is there anything that you could tell me about it before? I mean, I don't want to waste your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, one of the things that I offer that's different than most of the other agents in the area is I actually allow my for sale by owner clients, we'll do a regular listing agreement, and we write in that if you find your own buyer that's not represented by a real estate agent, you walk away from the listing agreement and you owe me nothing.
Wow.
Meanwhile, at the same time, I've got it listed with a professional MLS listing with professional photography. You get my 21 years of negotiating experience working for you. And if I sell it first, then yeah, you do pay the commission, but you end up netting more than you would if you sell it on your own. But like I said, that way we're both working at the same time.
Yep.
And is this really about you selling it on your own, or is this about getting you to Georgia by February 1st to be with your granddaughter?
Yeah, it's about saving money and making sure we get there. So
yeah. So if I could, okay, and if I could show you how we could do that, and the bottom line number was going to net you more by listing it with me, and you would get to Georgia by February 1st. I mean, wouldn't it be worth about 20 minutes of your time to meet with me tomorrow at noon?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Yep.
Cool. Well, I look forward to coming by and seeing you then. I'm going to send you a text message with all my contact info. Yeah. And I can't wait to see the house, meet you, and help you get to Georgia.
All righty. Well, thank you, Scott. Yeah. So tomorrow at noon, and yep, that'll be good. Okay. So I think a couple of things that you did that were really good there, right? You kept saying, like, we can work together. We'll get you to Georgia to be with your grandkids. Like, you kept reaffirming why you guys are going to meet, because you want to get them to Georgia, but you guys are going to be working together as well. And then, hey, 15, 20 minutes of your time, and we'll see where that goes. I think that's great. The other thing is you always have a smile on your face whenever you're doing this. So that comes out on the phone. And so that's a good infectious energy. And I think if you can, people say stand up and whatnot. I go both ways with that. I like to walk around and talk as well. Having a good positive attitude while you're doing this is infectious, and you'll get more. I think the other thing is you sending in your information after you get off the call is huge as well, because if they have to cancel or they change their mind, you don't want to drive all the way out there. And I always call and confirm a couple hours before to make sure that that appointment's still a go with that.
That's where the text message selfie video comes in. So
nice.
I'm doing a quick, like, 45-second video. Hey, this is Scott from eXp Realty. Hey, I know we talked about getting your home sold and getting you moved to Georgia. Can't wait to meet you. Just wanted to send you a message. If you look below, here's all my contact info, blah, 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 blah. See you tomorrow at noon.
Nice. Yep. I like that.
And it doesn't take up too much space on their phone or whatever as a text message. What I don't want to do is make it so long I have to upload it to YouTube and then send them a link or whatever.
Yeah.
We're talking about a quick 30 to 45-second video. So they see who I am, right? And
Yep.
they're like, oh, okay, we'll meet. And I've found that they're way less likely to cancel the appointment if I send that video.
Yeah, I've done that before too. So a couple things, or I've done that often. A couple things with the video is obviously make sure that you look presentable, that you're not just in your pajamas or something like
Right.
that. Quiet space, and you're somewhere where they can see you pretty easily, right? Like the lighting's good and whatnot.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll even do it from in front of their house if it's an out-of-state owner. We have a lot of like VRBO owners here or whatever, and they live out of state. And it's almost like, hey, just checked on the house for you. Everything looks good. The landscape is in good shape. And then they almost got like a check, like a status check on the house from my video. So
dang, yeah, that's awesome. That's way cool. I think that's great, man. I think that's amazing. Any other tips that you'd want to give anybody else about?
I mean, those are the good ones. And I think it's just all about going back to their motivation, kind of like you brought up. I usually bring it up to them 2, 3, 4, 5. I almost do it until it's obnoxious. Get you to Georgia to see your grandkid. Because every other agent is going to say, I sell 1,000 homes, sign the contract with me. We're the best. I've got a buyer's list, like all this stuff. But they don't care about all that.
No.
They just told you what they care about. They care about getting to Georgia to see their granddaughter by February 1st.
Yeah.
And once they tell you, if they tell you their motivation, that becomes my like freaking mission, right? Yeah. And then that will come through when they talk to me, because everyone else is going to say, I work for the biggest this and the biggest that, and
I've done that.
I'm the biggest website.
Yeah.
But they're like, this guy just wants to get me to Georgia so I can see my granddaughter. Like,
and we get to work together. I get to sell it myself at the same time he's doing it. So I think that's huge, and I think that's great. And you've also just kind of like throw a little. You're with EXP, has good technology. You got a lot of resources out there. That's been some, because I know you were calling for sell by owners for a while, but you've been able to build up some passive income through EXP, which is awesome. I'm not there, but what you've told me has been pretty cool. So, and I know you coach anybody that's been. You'll work with them, anybody that signs up under you, which I think is really great, and I've seen the benefits of you helping me and what that's turned out to be, and I've really enjoyed that. So if anybody has had any interest in EXP or wants to jump on a call with Scott about that, or for sell by owners,
you can reach me. scottfromscottsdale.com is my website, so that's the best way to find me. scottfromscottsdale.com. If you want to text or call, it's 480-363-2820.
Awesome. And then, I have my own for sale by owner game plan as well. So I always like calling them on Mondays and Fridays, because after the weekend, they've done their open houses, they're exhausted, they've spent so much time at the house, they're like, damn, another weekend gone, right? Friday, you call them, hey, what are you doing this weekend for marketing, etc. So you're trying to build that out. So my follow-up has always been really good with the for sale by owners, right?
And Mondays are awesome.
Yeah. And when I've called them and they're kind of breaking down a little bit, and I've said, hey, if we were to work together, you're having this listed yourself, and I have it listed, doing it all professionally, getting out to every single buyer that we can that's looking in Prescott. It's a win-win situation for you. So would you be open to that, to me coming over either this evening or on Monday after you've done your marketing, and see what we can do to work together? And again, you can still keep the house listed yourself. I'm just going to be hired to get to the MLS. If you sell it, you owe me nothing. Otherwise, if I get the buyer, we just go through the transaction. So that's always helped me out a lot, But make sure anybody that's watching this, make sure you're writing down your objections, you're listening to your calls, like record yourself, whether that's on Zoom or call recording app and whatnot. But go out there, get the for sale by owners. It's the cheapest way to get your business going. You can make a really good living doing that and have the greatest margin of profit by doing that. So, well, thank you guys for joining. I appreciate that. Scott, thank you. I appreciate it. If there's anything you guys have questions on, feel free to jump on the comment section, get in touch with me and myself at the michenergroup.com or 928-308-4700, or on Facebook, James Michener. You have a great day, okay?
All right, we'll see you.
Hey, see ya.